Good morning, guys. First stop of the morning. As you can see, just out. Oh, first trout of the morning. Look at that.
On the wall. I'm by.
Oh, you tiny little one. Oh, we decided to come off this Saturday morning and try for a couple trout, have a little ride. It's a rainy morning, a lot of water on the trails, as you can see. But yeah, this is my first time trouting this year. I got an earlier start last year, but not much luck with it because it's still cold, scattered a piece of ice in the ponds and stuff. But yeah, middle of June, so should be some trout getting on and going now. So I'm excited. Hopefully I got better luck than I had last year. Oh yeah. He runs out of bait, he catches his own bait. Oh, right in by my feet. He caught on right there. Oh. Is that another one? I hope you all are enjoying that episode so far. Now that you see that we're catching some trout out there, we're going to need to address the knife issue because those trout are going to have to be processed. Now, when it comes down to hobby work, in fact, sharpening I find is extremely important. Whether you're sharpening an axe for the woods or a knife, as we said, for the fisherman or hunter, whether you're sharpening hand plane irons, a chainsaw chain, so many different types of things come into play. Even if you're someone who works with fabric and sewing and different things like that, you have different types of knives and scissors. There are so many different hobbies where sharpening becomes very important, and there are a lot of ways to take care of the issue of keeping your tools really sharp. Now, I've been really fortunate to have got to test a lot of different sharpening methods, and I've played and relied on a lot of different things over the years, and I'd like to tell you what I like best and what I think is best for different scenarios. So when it comes to stone sharpening, which I would consider the elite, the most refined method of sharpening, there are a couple different methods. One is a guided type system. Now this is a really top-notch guided systems. A cheaper method, something you might have seen before, is something like you can get at Canadian Tire. The Lansky system comes in the little red case with a couple different grits. Those are okay. Those are nice for a crude edge, but they don't have very fine stones, and the setup just isn't real nice. This Edge Pro system here is really exceptional. It allows you to set the guides. They have a lot of different options, including right here now, mine is mounted up with a scissor attachment. If you don't have any real value for the freehand sharpening and you don't want to invest a ton of time learning freehand sharpening, a guided system might be for you, and Edge Pro is where I would look for that. It's just an exceptional system. Doesn't take up a lot of room, it's set up really nicely, and I like it. If you do want to learn freehand sharpening, if that interests you, just the style and skill and the traditional aspect of it, there are a lot of different things to cover in terms of grits. Obviously there are a lot of different stone options. I just have just a few here of the hundreds and hundreds that are on the market. You have choices now between ceramic and diamond and silicon carbide and different types. I tend to like silicon carbide and ceramic stones, not a big fan of the diamond stones. Ceramics are really good. A lot of improvements in ceramic in the last few years. Aside from sharpening like that, there are ways to hone your blade. Edge Pro sells a ceramic rod here. The same company that makes this sells a very simple ceramic rod, which I like. It's a real nice grit. It's fine. It's not one of those coarse steel rods. I really like this tool. A lot of different companies make different types of rods. They are nice for in-field touch-ups and just quick touch-ups in the kitchen and things. Another way to keep your knife sharp once it's already sharpened to help sort of sustain that edge is stropping using various compounds. So now, regardless of whether you're using a guided system like the Edge Pro or freehand stones like this, you need to choose the grits that work best for you. Right here I'm starting with my courses. I've got a 240 grit Sigma stone. This is a ceramic stone, and that 240 is extremely aggressive. I would only use something that low in grit for the toughest of tasks. If I had a real bad blade chip to remove or a nick or something like that, I'd start down there. And then I work up from there. I've got a 340, a 400, a 1000. This is a combo stone. Oop. This is a combo stone. This is a nice option someone might consider for a starting option. Gives you 2 grits in one. We've got a 1000 grit right here, a 3000, 4000, 5000 here. So this is within the range of standard sharpening. So if I was gonna just sharpen pocket knives and hunting knives and different things like that, this is within the range of where I would want to buy my stone selection. And over here you get into the real elite level stones. So we have a 10,000, 8,000, a 12,000 grit there. Just very high end, far more fine of a grit than you would ever want for like a kitchen knife or a pocket knife, hunting knife, or anything like that. This would be an unreasonable expense, just not needed. For general pocket knife sharpening, I would go maybe something right here. Start off with a coarse stone, a 400 or a 340, I believe that blue one is. 2 awesome stones right there. Something that range to get your edge started. Then you definitely want a 1000. For me, that is the bread and butter stone to establish an edge, the 1000. And then, I mean, a 1000 is a good working edge that will cover for most tasks, but I also like to polish an edge. So I would pick something maybe 3000 or above, 3000 to a 5000 range that you can step from the 1000 to get a real nice polish. So you could just do it with a single 1000 grit stone, assuming you never have any bad chips or nicks in your edge and you didn't want it polished. But of course we're always getting little nicks and things like that, and it's nice to have a coarse stone for some heavier steel removal to repair that. Then you definitely want that 1000, like I said. And then if you do want a polished edge, a 3000 to a 5000 range is nice for most general use tasks. I would stay away from the real fine stones until you need that. Now, if you're using stones, whether with a guided system or freehand stones like that, you're going to want something to flatten the stones because they do hollow out and dish over time. I really like these grits here I got from Paul's Finest. Silicon carbide grits. This is aluminum oxide grit. A couple different grits. You use on a sheet of glass. You scrub your stone around. It's the best that I've used. I really like it. As for straps, I like leather, and I like a coarse and a smooth leather. So you see here, I've glued up a hardback strap, or a paddle strap is what most people call it, where I have a rough side here. This would be like the split side of the leather, and I have some polishing compound scrubbed in there, just a rouge. And then I have the fine side of leather on the other side. I keep that clean, and I just like that for cleaning up and putting the final edge on my knife. I'm just going to quickly sharpen a knife here that I built on this show in the very first season, maybe one of the very first episodes. If you've been watching a while, you'll remember the bake apple knife, and that I kept 1 out of the first 6 ever batch. I kept number 1 for myself. It is badly in need of an edge right now. It's very dull, and so I'm going to start on a coarse edge because I'm looking under the light here. It's a little test. I'm looking under my overhead lights, and I can actually see light reflecting off that apex, which means there is an actual surface instead of coming to a perfect apex there. So I'm going to start with a coarse grit, maybe even my 240 grit. So I'm just going to let that soak for a minute and we'll get started. Now I use this glass plate that comes from Edge Pro with the Edge Pro Apex. I love it for sharpening. It fits my Nano stone holder perfectly, and it holds in all my water so I can dump it out in the sink after. I do recommend you pick up one of these Nano stone holders if you're going to be doing some freehand sharpening. So let's get started here. We have a nicely soaked stone. The Newfoundland Hobbyist is sponsored by EdgeProInc.com, ABS Bussing and Middle Arm, By the Sea Inn and Cafe located in Kings Point, and Noble's Timber with locations in Springdale and Bay Verte. And I will just lay my knife flat on the stone like this. I will tip it up until a shadow disappears under my edge. So you can just watch a black line there disappear. Right at the point where that disappears, that is where you want to be sharpening. And you can hear the coarseness of that stone. Very aggressive stone. I will try to hold that angle. You can see I'm moving quite quickly here because I have a lot of experience sharpening and I know how to maintain my angle. But you can go real nice and slow. Take your time, watch what you're doing, and you won't have any problems. Perhaps start practicing on a cheaper knife. Maybe go pick up some dollar store knives, some real cheap ones you can get for $1 or $2, and work on those before you start with your high-end stuff. Your finish point on any single grit stone is when you've removed that light at the edge, or when you've re-established an edge, that is with this coarsest stone. Once I'm pretty well near the end and I can see a wire burr forming as the two faces of the edge meet, I'll use only cutting strokes, lighten up on the pressure. You can see I'm just following that edge. I like to keep two hands on the knife, and I'll just chase that tip inwards like that. Spend lots of time looking, feeling, and I'd say we are ready for the next stone. So you can see the results from that very coarse stone. Now we're going to start with a 340, I believe, Shapton Kuramaku. So same steps. Lay your knife down, tip it up till shadow disappears. And you can probably hear right away the significant difference in sound. And this is a very nice feeling stone. I highly recommend this Shapton Blue Black if you're looking for a stone. PaulsFinest.com, I believe you can pick up all of these stones. Let's put an edge on with this and we'll compare the results. Same thing. You take your time. I'm moving quickly here. You take your time. Keep checking as often as you need to. Watch what you're doing. Your goal now with this stone is to remove all the scratches from the previous stone. That's your job now. Lighten up my pressure a little bit. And just cutting strokes. That's how I like to finish on each stone. And let's take a look at the results. Now I'm going to move to a lovely Shapton glass stone. This is roughly a 1000 to an 1100 grit or so. Really, really nice stone. Ceramic, fast cutter, and leaves an exceptional edge. So I'm just going to give it a little wipe down here because it's a little messy. Now here's where you're going to see some serious changes in grit. So same thing. Watch how you're placing that on the stone. Now look at that metal particle. Look how fast that cuts. This is an incredible stone and not a bad price either. Paul's Finest sells it for a very nice price. well worth the money. This stone would last a long time. Just so I wear my stone evenly. I'll switch over now. Again, working to remove the scratches from the previous grit, which you can do a good job of telling just with your naked eye. A jeweler's loop, one of those little glasses, eyeglasses, also work really well for having a close look at what you're doing. When I started learning sharpening, that's what I used, was a little jeweler's loop. Really, really nice little tool for helping you see what's the problem with your edge. When you can't get the edge you want, sometimes it can be a little difficult to tell what's going on there. So I think I'm roughly good with the 1000 here now, so I'll lighten up, only cutting strokes or strokes into my edge. Let's have a look. And just to give you an idea of what a 1000 is capable of, I can clip hairs on my arm now with this. You can see the performance with just a 1000 grit. So, like I said, if you were just going to buy one stone, a 1000 wouldn't do it, but then I wouldn't be able, it would take me a long time. Like I started with a real rough edge on my bake apple there, and if I had started with this 1000, it would have taken me a long time to get to this point. Now, just because I know you guys are probably curious, I'm going to go ahead with a higher grit, a couple higher grits, and just show you what kind of results you can expect. As we already saw, that 1000 gives exceptional user performance. You would be able to work down a moose or a fish or anything with that 1000 and have great success. I think you'd be really happy, but let's just take a look at what a higher grit would look like. And now 5000, notice these are what are called splash and go stones. They don't require any soaking. The pores are so fine they don't drink any water. This is a 5000 grit. Let's take a look at what you can expect. So those are the results of a 5000 grit edge, And if I were to spend a lot more time, as you could probably see in the picture there are still some scratches there that you can see in the bevel from the previous grits. If you wanted to work long enough, you could remove all of those, but since this is just for demonstration purposes, it's not needed for today. I hope you learned a little something from this segment. I hope you've realized how important sharpening is and how useful it is to so many different hobbies and crafts, whether in the workshop, out in the field, inside at the sewing table. It's very important to know how to sharpen and to know what tools are required. So I hope this helps. Let's get back to fishing.
Sounds like a nice one.
Yeah. Just finishing up with this little brook there now. Quentin got, how many you got?
10.
Quentin got 10. Nice trout. I got 5 half decent ones. I wasn't catching a thing until I switched over from a red devil or to a different style of spinner, and since that I did pretty good, but we'll gotta try another spot or two, and if we don't get our trout there, then we'll come back to this little spot. That's exciting.
Oh yeah.
That's nice. I have better luck already than I had all last year. Have a look at this spot. See a few Canada geese fly over and calling in the background. Incredible.
Right, small.
Hey?
It's small, isn't it? Didn't expect that.
Just stopped there just for a second on this little bridge. Quentin figured he'd have a try just for the sake of it. And his hook went in the water in 15 seconds. Just pull up. Nice little trout. Nice little fan trout, yeah. Lovely. Beautiful trout. Last one of the day. So Quentin and I were both thrilled. We both got our dozen trout. Not all real big trout, not all winners, but they made for a great pan trout and a nice family meal when I got home that day. If you enjoyed this, if you like this type of content, make sure you tune in to the Newfoundland Hobbyist, Thursdays at 8:30 Newfoundland Standard Time on Eastlink channels 10 and 610.
following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for